Welcome, everyone, to the MMA Happy Hour podcast. I am Kyle Anthony, your host, where today we are talking UFC Seattle, headlined by Israel Adesanya and Joe Pyfer. We're going to be breaking down four plays here on the show today. Now, last weekend, it was a swing and a miss by one judge. We had Sam Patterson plus 3.5 rounds. We needed all three judges to give one round. Two of the judges gave him one round. One judge oddly gave no rounds. So we miss on our 4% best bet play. Little disappointed on that. We did have a nice performance here on the show, cashing some tickets, but that one was the big one overall. Now, this weekend, I do have a 5-unit bomb all set up right now. Link down below. And with that being said, let's dive into the main event of the evening between Israel Adesanya and Joe Pyfer. Now, we're looking at Adesanya sitting around that minus 136 mark. Joe Pyfer on the comeback at plus 106. Now, you got Adesanya here, who is a former champion, and he has definitely been on a tough run. He's been on a 1-4 run out of his last 5 fights, and recently was knocked out by Nasruddin Imavov. Now, he has fought the elite of the elite really throughout his career, but over this span, even in his losing, he has fought top-level fighters. Out of his last 7 fights, he has fought 5 former or current champions. I mean, that's just, a murderer's row of fighters that he has faced. And now 36 years old, the big question is, does he still have it? Is he a guy that, can still perform at the highest level? And to me, I do look at what I've seen, and it kind of looks like, hey, he still has the high-level kickboxing. He still has good distance management. He will be the better striker here on Saturday night against Joe Pyfer overall. While you've got Pyfer on their side here, who's on a 6-1 run and has looked good in certain spots, does have some knockout finishes, has looked pretty good, but he has definitely fought the lower level of competition. There is absolutely no doubt about it. And this is a big step up in competition for Pyfer. Pyfer's beating, Abus Magomedov, a very fat, out of shape Kelvin Gastelum, Marc-Andre Barrio. I mean, these guys are very tailor-made for a fighter like Pyfer, who's going to come forward, look to throw bombs. Now, when he did have his step up in competition, the last time was against Jack Hermansson. Now, this was a fight here where, Hermansson's a guy that, it kind of looked like this was kind of set up again for Pyfer to kind of land a big shot, have the wrestling going, look to land one big hammer, put, Hermansson out. Hermansson had recently been knocked out brutally, so it was kind of set up very nicely for him. And early Pyfer found success. He was landing big shots and, looked like he was winning that first round or 2 rounds. But after that, it was really all Hermansson, and it was really a mix of Hermansson's really good footwork and volume that really made Pyfer struggle to really get a read, get into rhythm, and it just kept Pyfer off balance throughout the fight. Just pushed out the volume, keeping moving in and out of the pocket, and the longer the fight went, the more and more slower that Pyfer got, but also he just couldn't get any kind of reads, and Hermansson got that decision victory. Now, to me, that's pretty much the blueprint, and I think it's the exact blueprint that Israel Adesanya needs to use here is work at range, utilize that reach, utilize his footwork, utilize that 5-inch reach advantage that he's going to have, and pop out that jab and keep him at distance as much as you can. One of the biggest weapons that I think that Adesanya is going to have is leg kicks. Now, keep an eye out for that early and often. I think that he's going to invest in that early. He's going to play defense. He's going to jab. He's going to kick the legs. He's going to jab. He's going to move. He's going to kick the leg. I think that is going to really lower the power of Pyfer, lower the movement, the explosiveness of Pyfer. And I think he has to push this fight outside of those first 2 rounds to really start to pick up the pace as this goes, because I think Adesanya has the better combinations, faster hand speed, really good fakes, feints, a lot of things that he can do. And again, this is a step down in competition for Adesanya overall here. Now, Pyfer will have the power, and the physicality advantages. He will have those, and there is a concern on the Adesanya side for the fact that, about his chin. Now, again, he's getting older. There is those concerns there. Strickland dropped him. Recently, Imavov knocked him out. So there is those concerns there. But when you look at Pyfer, he's not very economical with his cardio. And we were just talking about how, his cardio just may not even be that good just in general there, because he will slow down outside of the first 2 rounds. He can't keep firing these big shots. He can't keep, moving forward and doing that. You see it all slows down, and you look at Adesanya, he is a guy that his style is built for 5 rounds. He is built to go out there outpoint you, play defense, chop away, pick you apart at range, have that high level striking, switch stances, give you different looks. And if he can do that, I think he causes a lot of problems for Pyfer to kind of get into any kind of rhythm. And also, will Pyfer look for takedowns? That's something that it's a possibility. Over his, last 9 UFC fights, he's landed like 6 takedowns, 1 takedown over his last 3 fights. So it's something he doesn't truly, really go to. I do believe the reason he doesn't always go to it is because he doesn't have the cardio to really fuel these repetitive takedowns. Sure, could you go out early, look for some kind of takedown on Adesanya? It's probable because everyone looks to take Adesanya down because how high level kickboxer he is. But I do think that, his takedown defense at 76%, he has shown to be fairly good at it, very elusive on the feet. And I think this is a great buy low spot on Israel Adesanya, the former champion here. So I think this is a bounce back spot for him here. I'm going Israel Adesanya minus 136 to get the job done. And the next one here we're going to talk about is going to be Maycee Barber. She is minus 188. The comeback here, Alexa Grasso, she is plus 146. Now, this is a rematch from their fight back in 2021. It's close, scrappy fight between both of them there. It was 40-38 on significant strikes landed. Very close, back and forth. Maycee Barber was 3 for 5 on takedowns, but it was Grasso who did have the control time advantage there, and she did get the decision victory. Now, a lot has changed pretty much since that fight there. Grasso went out there, had a trilogy with Valentina Shevchenko, did become the UFC champion, did drop the belt back to Shevchenko over that trilogy there. And then you've got Maycee Barber, who after her loss to Grasso, she went on a 7-fight win streak. And here we are getting the rematch, which absolutely does make a lot of sense in this spot here. And it also doesn't make a lot of sense to, go out there and really break down their last fight. It happened 4 or 5 years ago. A lot has changed. Can't really dive too much into that. Now, stylistically speaking, I like what Barber brings to the table. I like, her skill set. And I think it works out very, very well because her style is very judge friendly, and there's a couple ingredients that you do need to kind of, if the fight's going to kind of play out on the feet or you're going to kind of just have that aggression, that is the biggest thing that you need when you're talking about women's MMA. And the ingredients are being very aggressive, marching forward and throwing a lot of volume. And that normally can, edge out certain fights, certain rounds. And that's really where, optically, it does look good for Barber, where Barber has gone out there and won many decisions because you've been able to be the aggressor, move forward, crash the pocket, push her up against the fence, get control time, look for a takedown, then have the opponent kind of scramble it back to the feet. She throws an elbow, gets her back down. Like those kinds of things can take a lot out of the opponent, but also, again, it's showing you're dictating the pace, you're in control of the fight, and that's how she starts to pick apart rounds. Now, Maycee also will have the strength and physicality advantages here, and I think that's going to be massive here when she's looking for takedowns, when she's looking to kind of be the bully. I think that's her path to victory. Be the bully, muscle Grasso around. She can be taken down. And that's obviously what we did see when we were watching the fight against Shevchenko. The third one, Shevchenko said, forget about just striking with you. Let me look for takedowns. She got like 8 takedowns, had like whatever ridiculous amount of control time. And I do think that's kind of what Barber can do. She can kind of mimic that, look for those takedowns, look for control time. Obviously, she is not Valentina Shevchenko, but I do think she can have that path to victory. Now, Grasso does have good boxing. That's why I do think Barber looks for takedowns, has that strength, has the power advantage, banks around, gets control time. And I do think this fight does go to the scorecards here. And I do like Barber by decision, which is sitting at plus 115. I like that number here because out of Barber's last 7 wins, 6 are by decision here. I do think that Barber gets control time, keeps Grasso on that back foot, gets a job done by decision. So I'm going Maycee Barber by decision plus 115. And the next one here we're talking about is going to be Terrance McKinney. He is minus 170 on the comeback here. We've got Kyle Nelson. He is plus 142. Now, this fight is going to be absolute violence. There's going to be just pure violence between these two. This is fight of the night, knockout of the night. This is someone's getting like 100K on top of on top of their pay here, because I think someone's getting put away brutally here, and both these guys are aggressive. They're going to come forward. They're going to throw bombs. They're willing to exchange or willing to get into the pocket there. Now, the more firepower between these two is definitely going to be McKinney. I like what McKinney brings overall. When you're talking about his power, he's going to be the more explosive, more dangerous fighter between these two guys. His issue is he is a very much a kill or be killed kind of fighter. He's, willing to stand in the fire. He's willing to go toe to toe. He's willing to brawl because he believes in his power so much. Now, out of his 17 career wins, 16 come in the first round. Out of his 8 losses, all of them come inside the very first 2 rounds. So this is a guy that's never even been to a decision, which is pretty wild. Especially not like you just have, 10 wins, 14 wins, and all of them are by the first round. Maybe you've fought some lower level competition. This is a situation where even when he loses, he's losing inside the distance as well. Now, style wise, McKinney is really, all gas, no brakes. And again, he's going to come forward. His issue, and his biggest issue, is his cardio. He's a guy that, is not economical with his cardio, but I don't even think his cardio is very good at all. And outside of the first few minutes, he can slow down. He can just, he just gets sloppy. He doesn't have much left, but he is going to slam on the gas early in that fight, believe in his opportunity. But this is a guy, if he ever had good cardio, he would be a problem in this division. He's got the wrestling, he's got the grappling, he's got the power, he's got a good frame for the division. He's got a lot of great things going for him there. He's explosive, athletic, but his cardio is one of the worst that we have seen, because he really honestly does not have anything after round 1, or really maybe a couple minutes of round 1 overall here. Now, can Nelson really weather that storm? That's the big question here, is can he weather it? Can he deal with the pressure? He is durable, so there is that going to be there. But Nelson overall, he's not dangerous. He doesn't really bring much to the table. He's willing to get in there. He's a gamer. He's going to go in there. He's going to fight, but he's got far slower combinations. You've got the far more athletic, explosive fighter, faster combinations in Terrance McKinney overall. And, that's really where I think this fight is won or lost, is right in the pocket, because they're both going to exchange. Sure, Nelson could look for takedowns, but I do think it's going to be McKinney landing the bigger shots, swinging for the fences. You also have Kyle Nelson with a negative striking differential, meaning he's getting hit more than he is landing. And if McKinney's hitting you more than you are landing, I think you're going to get knocked out fairly quickly at that point. Also, you've got Nelson now 35 years old. And, Nelson is on a 4-1 run, but I think he is just well outperformed, his skill level. He's finding victory, so credit to him. But I do believe this is Terrance McKinney by knockout inside the first 2 rounds, which is sitting at plus 210. I like that spot here. I think that one of these guys is getting killed, but I do think that McKinney lands that kill shot and cashes that plus 210 ticket. So I'm going Terrance McKinney inside the first 2 rounds at plus 210. And the last one here we're talking about is going to be Ricky Simone. He is minus 140 on the comeback here. We've got Adrian Yanez. He is plus 110. Now, both these guys were on fire. Maybe not fire is the best word, but both of them were on a nice run. They were doing well, and they ended up both kind of fizzling out. Now, you've got Ricky Simone was on a 5-fight win streak, now on a 2-4 run, while you look at Adrian Yanez, also was on a 5-fight win streak, and now on a 1-3 run. Now, career trajectory, this is a very big fight for both of these guys. Both these guys need this fight. A loss for Yanez, you're talking a 1-4 run. A loss for Simone, now he's on a 2-5 run. These are starting to be guys that would all of a sudden start to look at needing to go to the PFL. But you've got now Yanez, who does have the better striking. So there's no doubt he's going to have the cleaner combinations. He's going to have the faster hands. He's going to have that distance management. If they're going to be staying at range, there's no doubt that Yanez is going to be the guy with the better range, the cleaner boxing, all of those things that he's going to have. Now, he is hittable in the pocket, but he does have the range that he kind of can lean on now. Now, one of the issues for Yanez, for me, is his inactivity. This guy is in his prime, and he's only had 4 fights since 2023. Now, when you're in your prime, you got to be a lot more active. Now, I'm not sure what's going on outside of the cage, injuries, doing other things. Who knows? But this is a guy that was very active for a while. When he was winning, he was being active. He was, going out there fighting guys at a lot lower level, but knocking out some guys. The hype was building around him. People were talking about him being like one of the better boxers in the division. And since these losses started to show up, he's really slowed down his activity, his fights. And that's going to be a concern. While you've got on the other side here, you've got Ricky Simón here, who's been active and has a path to victory here. And I think the wrestling path to victory is very strong for him in this particular spot here, because you've got Yanez who hasn't really had to face anybody that has this wrestling pace like Ricky Simón. Now, he has an 81% takedown defense rate, but the reason he's got it is because a lot of the guys that he has fought are strikers that kind of just are mixing in takedowns. They're not, they're not really just diving at legs for 15 minutes. They're really just kind of, mixing it in, and he's able to stop some of them, get back to space. But he's going to have to deal with a guy in Ricky Simón that is going to put on a heavy wrestling pace, pressure forward, look for takedowns. Simón averages 5 takedowns per 15 minutes. This is the guy, again, that's going to really push that pace. He does have some power in his hands because he's going to crash the pocket. He's going to throw big overhands. It's going to try to really keep Yanez off balance, throwing big power shots, mixing in the takedowns. He's very explosive with that as well. And I don't think that, you're going to see Simón wanting to just stand at boxing range and box. Now, if Yanez has the takedown defense and it stays and he can keep it at distance, Yanez is going to have a big advantage there. There's no doubt. He's going to have a very big advantage, and he would look like the favorite if they just stand at range for 15 minutes. But I think that Ricky, having the strength, having the physicality advantage, getting those takedowns is going to be his path to victory here. And I think he just wins positionally, and that's going to be the biggest advantage for him here. So I do like Ricky Simón to get the job done at -140. So there you have it for my plays for UFC Seattle. If you want to become a client, link down in the description. I have a 5-unit bomb in there right now, money line. I absolutely love it. We're going to smash it this weekend. Excited about it. So I will see you next week. Let's get the job done, and let's cash.